I am resident of Collinwood for YouTube, Joel Staines. I'm joined by Chloe Thomas. We're here to talk Dark Shadows episodes 211 and 212. 211 by the end marks the arrival of Barnabas Collins. But before we get there, uh, we have Willie Loomis opening the coffin and getting choked out faster than any pro wrestler ever did. Um, how Here's a question I've always asked everybody. How important is Jason McGuire and Willie Loomis to, in a sense, releasing Barnabas, you think?
Oh, well, Willie Loomis is essential,
Yeah,
but Jason McGuire certainly spurred him on.
yeah.
And but then Jason gets his just rewards in following episodes.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Mhm.
Good old Dennis Patrick. He knows how to play a heel, right?
Oh, he's excellent. Do you remember when he was on Dallas?
No, I never saw Dallas.
Oh, JR abused him like you wouldn't believe.
I believe it.
Mhm.
I've heard of the character of J.R. Ewing, but I've never seen the show.
You've never seen Dallas? Oh my
No,
God.
I've never seen the show.
Mm.
Um, I've seen like other shows. I've seen Gilligan
Mhm.
Island and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, Jason McGuire is the reason Willie Loomis is in Collinsport. He brought him along with him
Correct.
to Collinsport. So if it weren't for Jason, Willie wouldn't be here in
That's
Collinsport.
right. That's
Uh,
right.
what did you think of the chemistry of uh, Dennis Patrick and John Carlin?
Oh, I thought it was excellent. The characters were um, Jason McGuire was rather abusive of Willie
Yeah,
and took advantage of him and used him. Poor
yeah,
Willie. He was taken advantage and abused a lot. But
yeah.
um,
He's
I think that it was a very synergistic relationship, and um, it uh, they needed that relationship in order to release Barnabas and to make the storyline flow. Um, I was I was glad though when Jason McGuire left, but Willie, I mean, John Carlin was fabulous,
yeah,
especially when he was open the coffin. You know what it reminded me of? Did you ever see the original movie Dracula with Bela Lugosi? Yeah.
yes,
Okay, so remember the guy, and I think the guy's name was Jonathan. That and always the name always is Jonathan in these Dracula movies, where they it really is where the
yeah,
guy comes to the castle, but it turns out that he gets bit by Dracula, and
yeah,
then he winds up kind of crazy and eating bugs.
yeah,
But when Willie was opening the coffin, I mean, he had these crazy looks on his face
yeah.
just like he was mad. But I thought that was such a good scene. Very, very good.
Yeah, he's so entrenched with his own greed. He's looking at the jewels that Barnabas is wearing, and
Right,
soon that greed look turns to a look of fear
right.
and panic because he's not expecting this corpse to open its eyes and reach up and
Yeah, you
like,
see that ruffled hand with a ring. Yeah.
yes.
Hmm.
um, so I mean, we have also Joan Bennett's in this episode. Elizabeth
Hmm.
is basically telling Jason, hey, you need to go find him just to bring him here so I could throw his ass out again.
Right, right.
She's how I also love Joan and Dennis Patrick's chemistry as well. What did you think of it?
You know, I did not watch the first, not season. That won't be the season because I think it happened. The show was on what 10 months before Jonathan came on.
Yeah,
Um, I've seen bits and pieces before he came on, but for me, the series began when he came on.
yeah,
um,
right.
um, I think it was they had a good chemistry. I mean, obviously she detested him. He was
Yeah,
blackmailing her. Dennis Patrick was a wonderful actor, really. Um, he, like you said, he played the heel brilliantly. He was such
Yeah,
a cad.
yeah.
And she
He's
always acted like and she was always like the perfect lady when she just wanted to let one out on him.
yeah. I think this episode is really brilliantly paced for the debut of a character.
Oh yes,
I mean,
yes.
it does a lot of things. It gets into, well, Willie is being forced to leave. For those who have never seen this episode, Willie is being forced to leave Collinwood because of the safety of Carolyn and Vicky. He is,
Mhm.
pretty much threatened that safety. And, Elizabeth has had enough. Like, I want him out of here. Jason agrees to it, but he wants money to give to Willie. She gets an envelope of money, and that's when Willie decides to go on the heist spree of to he's
Great.
look yeah, to the grave robbery. He's looking for the jewels of Naomi Collins that were given to her supposedly by a pirate.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the best misconceptions about the S. Willie isn't looking for Barnabas. He's
No,
looking, he's
for
looking
the
for
jewelry.
jewels. Yeah.
Yeah, but Barnabas has the jewels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing too. He's expecting to open Naomi's coffin in
Right.
the mausoleum, but he fails at it. I mean, that's why
But
he
isn't
hooked.
that in the outer part of the mausoleum?
Yeah, it's not
So
in
I'm
the
wondering,
secret. Yeah,
yeah,
you're right. It's not in the secret room. It's
right.
right. There's three coffins laying there,
Yeah.
and hers
Naomi,
is
Joshua, and Sarah.
yeah, hers is the middle coffin,
Hmm.
and he tries to open it with like this hook and pulley system, and instead of opening the coffin lid, he opens a secret panel.
Right.
Which was, I think that was one of the best shocks too this episode when you go back and watch it. What did you think of that whole sequence, the him trying to open Naomi's grave, and then boom, he opens a secret panel? What did you think?
Well, that wasn't in the 2 episodes, but I've seen that one before.
Right.
Yeah. I thought it was like, oh, I might get bigger jewels. Let's go in here.
that's
Go in here. It's a chained coffin. I bet you this is where all the jewels are. They're chained up.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I think it's in episode 210 he does all that, but I wanted to include that with this because it's a perfect setup when this episode happens. When you have when Jason goes looking for him, he runs into the groundskeeper at the cemetery because Liz tells him look for him in other a few more inconspicuous places. And when Jason gets to the cemetery, Willie's strangulation is long done and over with. Um, I love the groundskeeper in this episode. Go away, go
There's
away.
evil here. There's
Yeah,
evil.
yes, yes. This is the same groundskeeper that we saw for the Phoenix Arc. What did
Mhm.
what did you make of his return here to sort of oversee Widow's Hill?
Well, like I said, I didn't really watch the other episodes. Okay.
Right.
But I liked this guy. I thought he was very convincing, and I thought it really wasn't banter, but I thought the dialogue between him and Jason was very good, and I liked when he told Jason, that young man came here pretending to be somebody he wasn't. I
Yeah.
shouldn't have let him in. And Jason goes, well, yeah, we could all get in trouble for pretending somebody we're not.
Yes. Yeah.
Jason's such a criminal.
Yeah, he's like, well, if that were a crime, we'd all be in jail. It's like,
Right.
what? Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Um, so he looks around the mausoleum, Jason, as the gravekeeper is talking, the caretaker, and he spots one of Willie's clove cigarettes.
Hmm.
And he pockets it like so no one else notices it. He knows Willie has definitely been there,
Hmm.
outside of the busted lock, and so he doesn't know where he went though. He doesn't know what happened to him. because Willie kept every bit of this from Jason.
Uh-huh.
Now, the reason Jason is sort of suspicious too is he has a conversation with Mrs. Johnson, and Mrs. Johnson said, "Well, he would talk to me about family." And he's like,
Right.
"About your family? Oh no, you wouldn't get two words out of me about my family,
Uh-huh.
um, about the Collins family,
Uh-huh.
about especially the young man in the portrait." And he
Mhm.
goes, "Oh, that's Barnabas. That's Barnabas Collins." So Mrs. Johnson deserves an assist here for sort of pointing Jason in a certain direction.
Right.
Uh, what did you? Because Mr. Johnson's going to be key to sort of a reaction. What did you make of Clarice Blackburn's Sarah Johnson?
Oh, I liked her. She was now, from what I understand, in a few of the episodes prior to this, wasn't she actually working for oh,
Her,
Burke. I was going to call him Brooke. Burke.
yeah,
Um and I'm not sure how she became the housekeeper, but she um I liked her. I liked her. She played a nosy woman really
yeah,
good. And when she played Barnabas's aunt in the Vampire Curse and he
yeah,
kills her, she
yeah.
was so good. She really was.
Uh, how she became the basically the servant, if you will, or the cook and all that stuff. What happens is Burke Devlin is accusing the Collins family of killing Bill Malloy, basically Roger, and he
Right.
wants a spy inside Collinwood, and he gets Carolyn suggests, well, why not Sarah Johnson, Bill Malloy's former housekeeper, and that's who she worked for was Bill Malloy initially, and he's like, yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. You should suggest it to your mother because if I suggest it to her, she won't take it, and she
Mhm.
does. Carolyn does foolishly suggest it to her mother. So basically, Sarah Johnson, who knows this is going on, this conversation between Carolyn and Burke, um, is basically the ultimate spy for Burke Devlin, and she does get an interview with Elizabeth, and does eventually go to work there. So that's how that all happened.
Mm, okay.
So, what did you think of Clarice Blackburn's reaction to Barnabas when she opens the door? What did you think of that?
Priceless. I thought she played it so well. Thought the whole scene was shot brilliantly. You don't see his face, you just see the back of him, you just see her total reaction. Um, and um, she, her reaction was like, cousin from England. Oh, I mean, I thought that was a very good scene. The way it was shot, the way they kept his face from most of the scene until the very end, which was within minutes, and
Yeah,
then you could see him right up against the portrait.
yeah.
No, I thought that was a great scene, and I thought she was very, very good in it.
I mean, they've been in Dark Shadows. They always emphasize the portraits,
Mm-hmm.
and they make a great job emphasizing Barnabas's portrait for the build up here. When
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Johnson's like, "Doesn't anybody hand up a thin around here?" and hands up
Right.
Jason's coat,
How long
and
was that portrait up there? I just have a question because I was wondering this and I didn't have time to go look. I know in the beginning of the series that portrait was not there. When did that portrait get hung up? Obviously, they did it when they knew they were having this new character come on.
I think it's 205 or 206.
Okay. All right.
It's in one of those two episodes, I
Okay.
believe. Um, so and but I don't think they had quite cast Jonathan yet. I know he
Okay.
was cast very soon after that,
Okay.
but now when the knock at the door comes, she's already hung up the coat,
Mm-hmm.
and she answers her. And you're right, this scene is so brilliantly shot.
Mm-hmm.
Over the shoulder, Jonathan looking at her, and her eyes are just like shocked, like
Right.
this a go. She's almost wants to say it, but she says it more with her eyes, not her mouth. She doesn't say it
Mm-hmm.
with her mouth. And he said, "I'm cousin from England," and you just hear Jonathan's voice,
Yeah.
which is a great voice,
Oh,
and you
beautiful
know,
voice.
yeah. And he walks in. You're right. He says, "Well, you tell her I'm here, and tell her." Oh, and by the way, man, it's Barnabas Collins, and she's going up the steps.
Hmm.
And that's this episode is not long. It's just, but it's a build up to again the character arriving in this episode.
Hmm.
How huge was this? Do you think? I mean, we know how huge it's
Oh
going to
my God, how
be,
huge. Oh my
right?
God. If it
Yeah,
wasn't for him, the show would not have lasted
yeah,
at all. A star is born.
yeah,
A
yeah,
heartthrob is born, I can't imagine Dark Shadows without Barnabas. There's no way. And I don't think any other actor could have played. And I know we always say that when
yeah.
a role and a character is so successful. But seriously, I've read many times they were considering Bert Convy for the role. I have nothing against Bert Convy, but he's more of a prankster and a jokester. Handsome man, but could he play Barnabas? I don't know. Maybe. No. nobody could nobody could beat Jonathan. Nobody.
I think they made the right call at the end of
Oh
the
my
day.
God, yes.
I mean, they were looking for somebody ghoulish, but
Well,
yet
I think he
handsome.
looked foolish to me. I mean,
I know. I know. My wife says the same thing, and she's like, "Man, let me tell you, he was a handsome looking man."
Oh my God. Ooh. And
I'm
even
like, I'm like, I'm like, I'm like, I'm like, are you going Canadian on me or what? Um,
even in the episodes to come, when he like in these early episodes, they didn't put a lot of makeup on him or anything,
yeah,
like to emphasize the vampire stuff as they did in like 1897 or in the
yeah,
1795. But even with makeup, he looked great. I
yeah.
mean, the man was gorgeous. That's all I can say.
I think they do a really good job of relying on the black and white color,
Uh-huh.
here. And Jonathan just sells his ass off in this episode too, and then especially in the next.
Did you
Um,
notice in both of these episodes? And when I first started rewatching Dark Shadows, I noticed that in the maybe the first half a dozen of the episodes, his accent is clearly British.
yeah,
And as time goes on, it becomes more mid-Atlantic, which is close to British, but I mean it's very more clipped and precise, and the inflections, the way my grandparents were from England, so the way the word seriously is said,
yeah.
the different words. I mean, he was very British in those, and I mean he comes from England, but that preciseness um, was would cut off a little bit as the episodes went on. But he always did have a bit of a. It's more of a mid-Atlantic accent.
Yeah, you're right. He does do a good job of especially in these early episodes of Barnabas. He does a really good job of coming, like he just came from England.
Correct.
But yeah, it does change a bit to sort of a mid-Atlantic,
Hmm.
which I think not too much. Like I do think he still tries to keep some of it.
Oh yes,
You
but
know what
just
I mean?
flipped, not as
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He because in the next episode, which we'll jump into here, is he's talking. Elizabeth comes down, and you clearly hear Joan, accent, very very good. And this conversation with Jonathan, she's having. Oh, it's Barnabas, cousin Barnabas. He says, "Yeah, cousin Barnabas," and she goes, "It's remarkable the likeness of that portrait." And he acts like he didn't even see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
What did you think of Joan and Jonathan's chemistry here?
Oh, I thought they did well together. I mean, they did well together. I don't
Yeah,
think the chemistry jumped off the charts. I mean,
right.
uh, actually, all I was looking at was Jonathan. Uh, just I like that one part when they're looking at the portrait and he
Yeah,
takes his hand, and he had very large hands, and he said the Collins something I can't remember, looks or something, had a certain persistence, and
Yeah,
you see his hand with that onyx ring right up against the portrait and the hand with the onyx ring. I just thought it
yeah,
was beautifully shot.
yeah. Again, you sort of get a first person perspective of
Hmm.
Jonathan's hand, and they're talking about the portrait. The Collins blood always had a persistent strength and stuff.
Yeah, that's a persistent strength. And I
Yeah,
also wondered in that scene when they showed the hand, his hand with the ring, because I think that's the first time you actually see it. Is that to let the audience know that that's the same hand that was around Willie's neck with the ring?
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I think that's the thing too with this here. This isn't like later on we're going to get more of a mystery of who the vampire is with like Roxandra and other characters.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think the writer. I've never when I viewed this for the very first time and viewed this tons of other times. I never got the sense that the writers were trying to deceive you of what Barnabas was.
Oh no, not at
You know
all.
what I mean? Um, they do a great job of not like saying, "Oh yeah, he's like directly saying he's a vampire," but they're letting the audience imagination sort of go where,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, this man has been invited to a house and he's a vampire. What's going to happen?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're sort of left with that question, and then he's just having this casual conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's like, lady, throw the vampire out the house, get the crucifix.
Oh no,
Um,
me. I'm letting him in.
right, right, you and my wife. But yeah, I mean that's the thing too. It's like she's casually talked to, and I like how she's like, I didn't even know like there were any members left in it. He goes, "Oh, sadly, I'm the last
Yeah.
line, last one." I was like, "Of course you are." Um, so, and I love how he just walks around Collinwood and he talks about the familiarity of it, and he says he's got pictures of it and stuff, drawings of it, and it's like, yeah, sure you do. You've been
Uh-huh.
in this place before,
Right.
but he does such a great job selling here. What did you think of that? Like you could tell this guy is definitely from the past.
I well, yeah, but could you though? I mean,
Yeah,
if I, I I guess because the fact that he came from England and English people are typically more polite, more
yeah,
proper, more courtly, like Victoria said. Um,
yeah,
you know, I mean, we knew as the audience because we knew that he was released from the coffin.
yeah,
Um, but I just think that he just played the whole scene brilliantly, and he remembered his lines. He did not flub any lines in these two episodes. Because I know people always talk about that, how we would forget his lines, but he did not in these episodes, and I just think he did a magnificent performance. But I always think he does so well in every performance.
yeah.
But it really, oh, just really good, really good.
Yeah, I love too how they build the suspense by not having Dennis Patrick in this episode because it gives a chance for later on to have Barnabas and Jason McGuire to have scenes later together. So I
Hmm.
like how they do less is more with Jason, and they're having Barnabas meet like Elizabeth, meeting Vicky, like you talked about, and Vicky. I love how that gets introduced. Vicky and David are coming down the stairs and they're talking about Willie Loomis.
Right, right. And David wants to come back.
Yeah, David enjoyed. Well, David's the one who shows Willie Barnabas's portrait too.
Hmm.
Um, it wasn't John Carlin though. It was the
That other guy.
yeah, James Hall, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw an episode with him. I'm glad John Carlin came on.
yeah, and so he leaves to go play at the old house, and as
Right.
Vicky walks toward the drawing room, she sees that there's a man there, and she's smiling. She can see how handsome he is, and this is where Vicky and Barnabas first meet. What did you think?
Oh, I didn't realize that Tim Burton stole the line for the movie from the series about you let them call you Vicky. Victoria is such a beautiful name. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to waste a syllable. I said, hey, wait, hey, they stole that. The movie stole that. I know
Yeah.
they did because I thought that was a nice line in the movie.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it makes sense that this real Barnabas should say it and not the other one. No, I thought it was beautiful, and he Vicky said the right thing. He was very courtly, and he did seem like he was from another time,
Yeah.
or another, at least another country. Um, he was, I mean, just the kind of, well, for me anyway, kind of man any woman would love to meet. Yeah, he
He
was very good.
he does say that it's like coming from one world to the next, from England to America.
Yeah, he
Which,
does.
I like that line, even though he's not meaning it that way, but it's nice
Right,
to sort of deceive other characters if you can.
right. But he is
You,
coming from another world. He's coming from 95 into
yes, yeah,
1967. So I'm sure that is another world for him.
it definitely was.
And I mean,
Um,
where did he get his suits? He goes, these are the kind of suits they're wearing now.
yeah, it's like you wonder what shop was open that late at night that Willie, they went and bought suits. So you
I
sort of
know,
wonder
right?
that. Um,
They don't tell you all that stuff. They leave that to your imagination.
they do, but I think it's very clever that they do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really smart. Um, David goes to the old house to play. He's playing. He's jumping the steps,
Yep.
and he on the one last jump he falls.
Yep.
The door opens, and he says,
I
"Who's there?"
love that scene.
Yeah. What did you think? Yeah.
I love the way it was shot, and you just see Barnabas like from his feet up to maybe his waist. You don't really see his face yet, and David looks around and thinks he's a ghost.
Yeah.
I thought I liked that way that was shot too, and I liked how he had. I thought he had a nice little chemistry with little David.
Yeah.
Um, this is before he finds out David's a little brat, but he had
Yeah.
yeah. But I like the scene where David was telling him about the secret places in the house, and Barnabas was saying, "Yes, I know this one," and
Yeah.
then he said, "Oh, I like to go up to this one to watch the sunrise." And Barnabas's face suddenly is very sad, and the way he could emote with his face without really saying any lines
Yeah.
is just, I mean, magnificent. And yes, I'm a little prejudiced, but how many actors really can do that? Not many.
Yeah. He says when he says sunrise, you see that sort of sad look on his
Yeah.
face that
Yep.
he lost the whole world. You know,
Right.
and I think that's a mate. I agree with you. It's a hell of a sell job by Jonathan
Hmm.
on his face, and David's continuing to talk too.
Yeah.
And I think
He was a
that's
good little actor, that little kid. I'm telling you.
yeah, yeah. David Hennessy was great.
He
Yeah,
was.
yeah, hell of an actor for sure.
Hmm.
And then they talk about the portrait of Josette, and he's
Yes.
saying, "If you're calling, she'll help you."
Yes.
Um, he's acted like he's afraid of the ghost.
Right.
Jonathan is, but
But the story there changes later on because you're led to think that Jeremiah and Josette well, they were married, but
yeah,
that they were married, but Barnabas had an affair, I guess, with Josette is what the some of the storyline was. And then she said, "Why didn't you protect me?" and all that. Well, so it gets a little changed once they get into the vampire curse storyline.
I do think you get the sense that at least in this episode that he at least knew her.
Yeah,
you know, that line to Jonathan delivers is so golden. I was at Collins. Where were you when I was turning
Yeah.
60? My father lived. If his ghost is here with yours, tell him I've come home. I'm
Hmm.
free now and alive. The chains of which he bound me with are broken. It's just, he's not mad. He's hurt.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
I thought that whoever wrote that dialogue was a wonderful writer.
Yeah.
And of course, when you have an actor like Jonathan delivering almost a little soliloquy like that, it's just it it's almost Shakespearean.
Yeah. It really is, too.
Hmm.
It's really, really good. When David gets back to the great house, he's talking about how he met Barnabas and
Yeah.
stuff. And they look at the portrait, and David's like, "Oh, that looks nothing like my cousin." He's like, "Well, of course it does." He goes, "Well, no, my cousin in this seems rather the person in this portrait seems rather angry. My
Uh-huh.
cousin Barnabas at the old house, he seems rather sad."
Hmm.
So I love that little difference comparison we're getting from David.
But
What
it's
did you?
true.
Yeah,
That portrait does look angry.
it does.
and, and he looks much older in that portrait. Not a
Yeah.
young man at all.
Do you think that was just done on purpose to deceive audiences or no?
What, to make him look old?
Yeah, in the portrait.
Well, from what I understand, the portrait was painted with somebody else's head.
Yeah, it
And
was.
when they hired Jonathan, then they painted his face on it.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it was just supposed to be, when you look at portraits from that time period, most of the people were not smiling. They were very somber. So maybe
yeah.
that they were just keeping, in style with that.
Until you see Angelique's portrait, and it's like, oh yeah, she looks happy, sort of.
Well, Angelique, come on, she had every reason to be
Yeah,
happy. Look at
yeah,
her. She's
yeah,
gorgeous. She has
yeah,
powers. Why not?
yeah. It's like, but yeah, you're right. It was when it was drawn. It wasn't drawn with Jonathan's head. It was drawn with somebody else's. You're right.
Right.
Um, and we see sort of this cutscene through the portrait to Jonathan, which I love the effect, the camera
Yes.
effect. What did you think?
Oh, I love that. I want to capture that in a screenshot and do something with that on my site. I like that. I like how his the portrait is there, and then all of a sudden it fades into Jonathan's face at the old house. I thought that was beautifully done.
They have it as a GIF, actually.
I have seen that. I've seen that, but
Yeah,
I want it as a screenshot
screenshot.
because I want to do something with it. I don't know what yet.
That, that'd be really cool. That'd be really cool
Mhm.
to see because you come up with a lot of creative stuff. Um,
Thanks. I love
you're
doing it. So much fun.
you're welcome. I love liking. I'm like every time I see something, I'm like that's so cool. Um, so I love seeing like creative stuff from all sorts of Dark Shadows fans. It's like anytime we
Hmm.
see, like, oh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. So on the list. Oh my gosh. What's your favorite scene from 211 and 212?
Well, 211 is
Yeah,
well, when he comes to the door with his little derby hat.
yeah,
I wish they had shown the front. I would have liked to have seen him with that little hat on his head. But he
yeah,
takes it off. But I know I have a screenshot that I found online somewhere of him with it on. And I just think he looks so cute. So that's my favorite when he makes his entrance for 211.
yeah,
And then 212. Oh, I just like him in anything.
yeah,
But I would say that probably probably that soliloquy
yeah,
um at the end when the portrait fades into him and then he makes that little speech to the portrait and then the show ends at that point.
yeah. The episode ends. Yeah, I think 211. I'm with you on the entrance, the door opening. But
Hmm.
I love Mrs. Johnson's face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's so criminal. I also love too. I love Dennis Patrick's performance in 211 too.
Oh no,
Because
yeah, he was very, very good.
yeah, he really you have the actors do and actresses do a really good job of emphasizing. Okay, where the hell was Willie Loomis?
Yeah, right.
And they're going to continue that too. They're going to like wonder where he's gone, and Jason's going to continue to look for him. It's not. It's like it's not over. They're still going to look for Jason's still going to be looking for Willie Loomis after this,
Uh-huh.
which is a really good setup for what's to come.
Yeah.
And 212, I'm with you. I love this. The soliloquy is my favorite part of
Uh-huh.
212. That and the like you said, the syllable. Oh, I couldn't bear to utter a syllable of your name, Victoria.
Right. I like that too. I like that.
Yeah, it's
I do.
he's he shows you he's very romantic and old fashioned,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is really really smart for what they're setting up. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
really really good. I have no more questions. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
No, not really. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, yes, there is. I was just thinking this. In the movie Night of House of Dark Shadows, you
Yeah.
notice they try to assimilate the same scene. You see him walking across the lawn
Yeah.
to a different Collinwood, but it's Collinwood essentially.
Yeah.
What was that? Lyndhurst Mansion, right? And
Yes.
they have a different housekeeper who I don't think even has a name, and it's the same thing. It's shot from behind, and you don't. He comes in, and you see the ring, and he plays a note on the piano, and that all is very good, but it is not as good as the entrance in the series. Not at all.
No, it's. I do like that they shoot it from first person standpoint. They make you sort of feel like you're Barnabas to a degree.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I like that aspect, that camera trick, because it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. And again, you're shooting a movie, you're not
Uh-huh. Yeah.
shooting a series. But you're right, it doesn't have the same effect that the series would have,
Right.
did have. It there are things in the movie that are really good from a camera standpoint. Like
Yep.
again, you get you also get to play victim. Like when you're Carolyn, you see Barnabas coming at you.
Oh yeah.
They shoot that in first person.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a lot of good camera work in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But there's really, really great camera work in the series too.
Mm-hmm.
Criminally underrated camera
Mm-hmm.
work. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yes.
so it's like anytime I'm going through these episodes, it's like I got to give Dan Curtis Productions a lot of credit with their camera work. Um, they just always did a good job. So
Yeah, he did a lot of he was a genius
yeah,
and hired the right people to do the right jobs. Robert Colbert with the music. That music is beautiful. It's haunting. It's and it's it's oh, what do I want to say? It's there's some music from the time the 60s, like the stuff at the Blue Whale, and then there's the more romantic haunting, and then there's the background music for different types of scenes, and then the music that he did for the movie, both of the movies, and then of course Quentin's theme. It was nominated for a Grammy. I just think that um, Dan Curtis certainly knew who to hire to do the production of film.
yeah. When do you want to come back?
When do you want me back? And what are we
Uh,
going to talk about?
well, you can come back the 31st. That works.
That's great. I'm off that day. That's
Okay.
great.
You pick the next episode.
Okay, do I tell you now or do I tell you later?
You can tell me now or later.
I think the episode or the storyline. What do you
Pick,
what do,
pick an episode.
Pick an episode? I think I'm going to pick something from The Vampire Curse when
Okay.
Angelique first comes on. I just don't know which episode. I got to think about it.
I think I know it's like a three something. I gotta look, but I'll send you the episode. I know
Oh,
which one you're talking about.
no, no, I don't mean when she first comes on that day. I'm
Oh,
talking about I want to do an episode in that storyline. I just don't
oh,
know which one yet.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, let me know the number, and
I
we'll
will. I'll
you can
message you.
Okay, thank you. Go give Chloe Thomas a friend request. She's a very, very nice Dark Shadows fan. I want to thank you for your time,
Oh,
as
thank you.
always. It is always a pleasure having you on. If anybody ever wants to get in touch with me to come on this channel, please do. Please message me on Facebook. You are more than welcome. Chloe, you have a great night.
You too. Thank you, Jules.
Bye.
Bye.